Hello and welcome to From the Be-All End. We're looking back on Burnley's victory over Hull City and looking ahead to the weekend trip to Preston North End. I'm Simon Evans and with me is Justin Connolly and Darren Bentley. Darren, let's start with you. A performance that set some records defensively but also had some positive elements at the other end of the field as well, I think.
Yeah, it ticked every box, I think, last night, Simon, didn't it? You know, the run continued with the clean sheets. We got the early goals that settles every nerve around the place. And in the end, it's probably about as routine a championship victory as you'd hope for at this time of the season. So, yeah, onwards and upwards in that respect.
Yeah, Justin, what were your impressions of that one? It did feel like there was a little bit more of a sort of strutting confidence about the side on the ball.
Absolutely. I mean, you know what? I really enjoyed that game in contrast to a lot of the sort of dull 0-0s we've had recently. I thought that first half performance was probably as well as we played this season. You know, the way we moved the ball around, and it wasn't always sideways and backwards. There were incisive passing. There was lots of one-touch. There was lots of movement, lots of intent about it. I just thought it was brilliant. If we play like that for the rest of the season or maintain anywhere near that kind of level, I think, you know, we won't be far off the mark at the end of the season.
You think early goal helps there, Justin? You think the early goal settles everything down and allows that freedom a little bit?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, getting that goal does ease the nerves a little bit, doesn't it? Because we've got such a fantastic defensive record. And we've said on this podcast many a time that if we score a goal, chances are we're going to win the game because we're not going to concede many. So I think, yeah, that obviously, when you get a goal so early in the game, it does help that confidence. But even before then, even before they scored, you know, they didn't know what to do with Jayden Anthony, did they? They didn't have a clue how to handle him. And I think Hannibal in that sort of advanced number 10 role, I've said I'd like to see him play a little bit deeper, but I think he just brings an energy to that part of the pitch and moves the ball quickly and moves around quickly. He just sets the tempo a little bit, and it was great to watch. I really enjoyed it. Second half, you know, I think we were helped a little bit by the fact that they came and had a bit of a go at us, didn't they? Which a lot of teams don't do. And they look much better than their league position suggests. I thought, you know, they look reasonably dangerous, and so it was a good test at both ends of the pitch, and we passed it with flying colours. I think I was thrilled with it.
Yeah, anyone stick out to you performance-wise individually? Yes, does.
I think Bashir Humphreys he should nail down that left-back role for me now. I know that we flip-flop a little bit with Perez, but he gives us so much more, I think, Humphreys, on the overlap. He's got a great left footer into whip balls in, and last night he comes in and slams one in the bottom corner. And I just think his all-round play is more composed than Perez, and he stabilises things down that left side really well. And Jayden Anthony, I thought, had one of his best games. I thought he was terrific last night. Always looked a threat. In the past, he's been a little bit guilty, hasn't he, of threatening to take a player on and then just choosing the backwards pass instead. Whereas last night, I thought he was always positive and trying to get at his man, and it pays benefits. The second goal, of course, came directly from that, where he just a little shimmy and off he goes. And yeah, I like Jayden Anthony. I know he's got his critics, Anthony, but wingers are a bit like that, aren't they? Wingers can be a bit flaky. You know, you don't get many wingers who are 9 out of 10 every week. They're a 6 out of 10 one week, then they're a 9 out of 10 the other. I think Jayden Anthony's been pretty reasonably consistent on that right.
Yeah, I just think he does frustrate me a little bit in that he gets into some great positions. He feels a threat, and then, you know, and again, this is a common complaint with wingers as well. You know, the final delivery, the final product. Now, whether that's always been down to, you know, Anthony, he can put in a great ball. We saw, I think it was his ball that went in towards Fleming's head, wasn't it? That he didn't really get a proper contact on. So he can deliver the ball, but whether it's we've not had the players in the right position or not.
That's it. I think he can deliver balls all day long, but if we haven't got the bodies in the box to get on the end of it. Fleming's given us a new dimension there, I think. For all that he's not a number 9, he is the one aerial threat we've got in the side, isn't he? And he's made his mark in the centre now, not only just with heads, but that brilliant ball from when Brownhill slammed one across on the volley and he stuck his foot out at Plymouth and stuck it in. He just always seems to be the man in there now, and he may well be revelling in that role a little bit now. I mean, Edwards is going to push him for that role, I think, isn't he? But Fleming's coming to the party, I think, now. And I think the end of the seasons, as Justin alluded to, we're just hitting a little bit of another gear now. If we can keep our foot to the floor, we've touched on the gap between the top four and the rest, and they're all at it. They all won the other night, didn't they? Everybody won. Everyone's pulling away again. So I think the signs are positive. They really are. Maybe we're shaking off that pragmatism.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fleming's definitely growing into that centre forward role. He's getting in the right areas now, isn't he? I think Anthony, I share your frustration with him a little bit, Simon, because I think sometimes the choice that he makes when he gets in those good positions isn't always the right one. He seemed to be intent on trying to cut inside and score every time he got the ball yesterday. When he didn't do that, go on the outside, maybe make it to the byline and pull one back, that's when he looked more dangerous. But yeah, I think what he does is he scares defences, doesn't he? When he's running at you, you know you're in trouble when you're running back towards your own goal, and you don't know what he's got for a winger that you need at that level. I think is you don't know which way he's going to go. You don't know if he's going to go outside or inside. And I think sometimes that's what's missing with someone like Koleosho. I think you sort of kind of can guess what he's going to do, but Anthony's unpredictable, and that's gold dust in that position, isn't it?
And his first touch is just so good.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to think of many Burnley players who've had a better first touch than that. And that immediately has the fullback on his back foot, doesn't it? When he's brought it down so quickly and he's stood up, faced in front of him, and like Justin says, not knowing which way he's going. On the other side, we've had several different options since he sort of gave up on the always playing Koleosho there. Foster getting another chance in that role. Had a great effort when he moved him central, and he burst and fired that one into the side netting, didn't he? But he contributed. But are you convinced by Foster in that position, Daz?
I'm not convinced by Foster full stop, to be honest. He still has to convince me. I'll tell you who has turned the tide a little bit for me is Hannibal. I was not a Hannibal fan at all. I thought he was a bit of a liability in the early days, but he seems to be, when he plays, there's a lot more dynamism about us. And he played that role, and I can't remember the game, forgive me, but I can't remember the game he played on the left. And he had a great game on the left, and it just seemed to click into place, and I thought that might be the future for him. But we're back with Foster playing that.
Was it Sheffield United where he played out on the left first?
Yeah, could have been. But I like Hannibal. I think Hannibal's got a lot to offer, and he gets us up another gear, doesn't he? He moves us through the gears a little bit, where I'm not convinced by Foster. I'm really not. I don't know what he is. I'm sure he's not a winger. I'm convinced he's not a goal scorer. Don't quite know what he is. But that might
Justin,
be me.
I think you're getting close to being the Hannibal for England camp, aren't you?
Honestly, he's slowly but surely turning into my favourite player this season. I love that. Like I said before, that extra urgency he brings to the side is what has been missing from those interminable 0-0s, and those 3 games when he was suspended. I think we really missed him. And coming back into the side, it's just taking it up another notch. Yeah. He just sets the tempo, and he doesn't do that much as you watch him. It's the passes that he makes are quite often backwards, but he's changing the angles and switching he's dragging players around. He's making runs. He's moving. He never ever stops moving. And his pressing that last night was just incredible. The number of times he won the ball back in their half when an attack for us has broken down, it was incredible. Yeah, I think he's got to have nailed down that sort of number 10 spot. I mean, imagine if he starts contributing with the odd goal or two, which he's got in his locker, hasn't he? I'm sure if he started bringing that to the table, it would be, he could make a massive contribution over the rest of the season.
If he's going to nail down that number 10, and we've got Fleming playing as number 9, and we've got Foster out on the left, where are we going to fit Edwards in? So we've got to fit Edwards in somehow.
Well, I think Edwards will probably end up playing on that left-hand side, because I'm with you. I'm not sure that Foster's all that effective out there. What he does do is he's very direct, isn't he? He gets the ball and he just lumbers forward with it. More often than not, nothing happens. But he's very, very direct, and that again can set the tone and set the tempo, can't it? It puts them under pressure. It gives them a problem to deal with. But when he moved into the middle, I thought he looked more at home there. He looked more comfortable there, and I think that's probably where he should. If he is on the pitch, that's probably where he should be playing, I think.
Yeah, it's an interesting one seeing Edwards out there. I mean, I can't see him playing him centrally though. That's really. I mean, he's so little and slight, isn't it? I know there's a guy plays down the road, not far from me, wearing number 10 for his club and country, who's not exactly a big lad, but it's
could be a false nine.
Yeah, but there's something about Edwards, isn't there? You can tell he's got something there when he gets on the ball that you can feel a bit of jeopardy for the defender. Same with Anthony, not knowing quite where he's going. So it's going to be interesting to see him. He seems, but you sort of feel like his role's going to be a sort of Benson role, don't you?
What, coming off the bench?
Being injured. No. Benson at his best during the promotion campaign. Yeah.
But we've told there about Anthony, about Hannibal, about potentially Foster at times. Edwards. The number of players we have in that squad now who are unpredictable and who are creative has now given us an extra dimension. It's no surprise, I don't think, that we're now just starting to slowly leave those 0-0s behind us and eke out the wins.
Do you think it is that, Justin? Do you think it's the players that have come in, or do you think that Parker has told them, look, we're all right at the back. You can relax a little bit more. You can play some football. Or it did feel like a different sort of approach last night, didn't it?
It did feel like the tempo was higher. It did feel like we were much more aggressive and more positive. I think it was Chris who made the point in our WhatsApp group during the game last night. Just have a look at the bench and see who's ready to come on if you don't perform. There's somebody for almost every position who's chomping at the bit to get on the pitch. And if you want to keep your place in this team, you've got to perform, because there's a queue of players, who potentially could make a mark there, lining up behind you. So I think that's part of it as well. We've got depth there. If you look at that bench last night, it was. There's players who can come on and make a difference, but there's also players who drop into those, defensive midfield positions as well. There's competition everywhere. So to keep in the side, and who wouldn't want to play in this side? It's that there's the confidence that's flowing through them and the ability that they've got. It must have been a joy to play for that team last night with the kind of football that they were playing. So I think that's part of it. It's definitely a factor that we're so strong defensively. But also I don't think that's necessarily to do with the back four or the keeper. I think that's the whole team. I think Bashir Humphreys mentioned it in his post-match interview. He looks behind him and he sees Maxime Esteve there, and he sees CJ Egan Riley behind him, and then if you get past those three, you've got James Trafford to beat. That fills you with confidence. That kind of level of trust between the players is extraordinary. But it's a magnificent foundation to build some attacking football on, and hopefully the last 2 or 3 games we've sort of turned that dial up that we used to talk about. Towards a little bit more aggression, a little bit more attacking intent, and the positivity. I mean, you would not have seen Bashir Humphreys take the ball in that position that he was in and have a go and try and score. 2 months ago, he would have turned around and passed that ball back, and the risk-averse football that we were playing. But now that's when things happen. When you take a gamble, when you have a go, when you get into a position. Go for it, because we've got that defence to fall back on if things go wrong.
I mean, that defensive record, it is worth just pausing just to reflect on 10 straight clean sheets. Never been done in the second tier. Been done better than that in the Premier League. I think United did 14 in 98, 99 I saw last night, and there might have been some other ones as well. I don't know if Arsenal, during their 1-0 years, probably had a few runs like that. But it's still incredible, and even more incredible, really, when you look at the league table and it says played 32, conceded 9. I mean, that is just incredible, isn't it? I mean, we've had some good defences at Burnley throughout the Sean Dyche years, haven't we? But I mean, this is a tremendous record.
Oh, incredible! I mean, if you'd said, what is it? 5 defeats now in 101 as well. At this level, the records just keep coming and going. We touched on the back four. I don't listen to you guys a lot. You touched on the back four so many times. I don't think you can forget Josh Cullen in this either, because Josh Cullen provides a fantastic shield for that back four. Justin was saying there about Bashir looking alongside him and seeing Esteve and seeing Egan Rowley, but then he's got Josh Cullen in front who just like sweeps all before him, doesn't he? And he's the little dynamo bunny in there, isn't he? Just constantly tidying up and moving the ball and keeping it going. But it is a collective effort, and it's from the front back, isn't it? But you're right, that defensive record is unravelled, and I think Justin touched on it there. We're almost getting more nervous now when we're winning the game to keep a clean sheet than we are to go for a third or a fourth goal. It's sort of behind the sofa when the other team start attacking now in case that record goes. But yeah, unbelievable.
Having said that, in the final minutes of that game, when my mind was focused on they just felt like they might nick a consolation at the end. And then Esteve goes charging down the left wing all the way forward. And you think, no, not now. But, it's that's where we got to the other night, where we're now freaking out about defenders crossing the halfway line. But it was a good one. I mean, looking at the league table, Daz, I mean, the top four has now pulled away completely, haven't they? Fourth place is Sunderland on 62 points. Rovers are fifth on 48. 14 points is a massive gap. Burnley 64, 3 points behind second place Sheffield United. And Leeds 5 points ahead of us in top spot. I mean, I was saying the other week that I felt like it was like Leeds are up and there's, one other spot available. I'm not quite so sure about that, but it does feel like that 4 is now like well away from everybody else, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we can book our playoffs at least, I think, now, can't we? There's an interesting little spell coming up, though, because I noticed that, Leeds have pulled away. Leeds have really hit the gas in recent weeks, but they have got Sheffield United in a week's time, which will be a big game. And I looked at some sort of figures recently. I mean, Sunderland, Sheffield United and West Brom are Leeds' next 3 games. So they've got a really little tough spell coming up now.
Yeah.
If they come through that spell, they should be able to close to the line. But there's no reason at all why the other sides who keep winning every week wouldn't be able to catch them up in the next couple of weeks. And then we all know what happens to Leeds sometimes when the pressure's on them. The cracks do start to appear a little bit. So I don't think it's quite cut and dried yet, but I do think Leeds will probably take top spot. They just seem to have a real swagger about them in a minute. And then I think it's, as you said, it's 1 from 3 after that to go straight up, and it may well be musical chairs at the end of the season, that one, way it's going. But we have got, on paper, the easiest running.
Yeah.
We have only got 3 of the top 8 teams to play, and they're all at home. Everybody else is below that in the league, so it's not the most daunting running. And the way we're playing at the minute, who's to say that unbeaten run won't go right to the end of the season, and Sean's 23 unbeaten's out the window.
Yeah.
Now, isn't it?
Another record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought about that one, yeah. I mean, how do you feel about looking at that league table, Justin? Are you feeling? I get the vibe from you that you are feeling very confident at the moment.
You know what? I think the second half of the season, or the running, is going to be a lot more interesting than what we've seen so far. I think I'm looking on this as like a foundation. We've built the foundation now. We've got a squad. We're beginning to gel. If you told me we'd be in this position, that during that crazy week at the end of the transfer window in the summer, I wouldn't have believed it possible. I wouldn't have believed that we'd be able to galvanise this squad, add to it a little bit over the winter window. And I think that's great credit to the work that Scott Parker's done. You can see it on the pitch. You can see the level of organisation is just extraordinary. And it's all to play for now, isn't it? It's jeopardy starts to kick in now, doesn't it? A defeat, potentially knocks us 3 points back from those automatic promotion positions. So there's everything to play for. Every game starts to count now, and if we're going to start turning these sort of draws into victories, that's going to put a lot of pressure on those two teams who are in front of us. I mean, I know we've got to play Sheffield United at home. That's a lot of things will be decided by them, won't they? Because that's sort of 3 games before the end of the season. So we really need to sort of keep pushing on, keep progressing, keep this sort of positive mindset going, and not be knocked off course. I think it's interesting that we've played a lot of these sides already, and we're still up there. We're still in with a shout. We're still in touch with them. We took 4 points off Leeds. So that's something to hold on to, isn't it? We say they're tied on to win the title, but we match them, more than match them in the games that we played against them. So it's all really poised for a really sort of interesting, exciting end to the season.
You've said that Sheffield United game a lot could be decided by them, but equally, just in that Sheffield United game could well be a deciding game. If it is to and fro right to the end,
yeah, it could be.
That could well be the ultimate 6 points of that.
We have had a bit of a history of stopping Sheffield United celebrating promotion to the Premier League, haven't we?
I like our running though, boys. I do like the last 2.
I do.
You only got QPR and Millwall last 2. That's not a bad 2 to have at the end, is it? That
Millwall beating us, QPR on a bit of an upturn.
I think Millwall beat us on one of those occasions that Justin alluded to earlier, where we didn't quite know what we were, did we?
Yeah. I mean, Preston at the weekend, and it always gets called a derby. It is a derby. It's not the derby. How do you feel about Burnley Preston games, Daz? Where is it in the ranking of derbies?
It's right 2? There for me, because we played it for so long, didn't we, when we didn't play Blackburn, that it became our derby. So I love Burnley Preston games. There's a real feel of, derby about that, I think, without a doubt. Blackburn's obviously number 1. It'll always be number 1, but Preston's right up there for me, right up there. And I love Deepdale. I think Deepdale's a lovely little ground to go to. I say it's not a little ground, but I do like going to Deepdale as well, and they give us a lot of tickets at their end, so it's always a great atmosphere. But yeah, it's there for us, isn't it, if we want it. They were tough at Burnley, I thought. They were a really decent, well-organised side at Burnley, and they had a great win in midweek. It will not be easy going there on their patch, and I actually think a point there wouldn't be the worst result in the world. I know we need to keep winning, but I don't think a point would be the worst result in the world. A lot of sides will go there and not win.
Yeah, and Justin, we've got the cup tie coming up against them as well, haven't we? It has the makings of being a little, if there is a rivalry there, it can get intensified by playing each other close together, can't it?
Yeah, I agree with Daz. I think it is a proper derby. I mean, we're both, historically important football clubs. Founder members of the Football League, played each other a lot over the years. Obviously, the geography means that it's not quite as important as a game against Blackburn, but it still has that bite for me, and that's what makes it so unpredictable, because form goes out of the window in a game like this, doesn't it? It's one of those situations where emotions can get the better of you, especially as again, as Daz alluded to. I think I read that we've got 6,000 tickets for that game, so that's kind of a massive following. And the atmosphere that will generate in that ground. They're the underdogs, obviously, so they've got nothing to lose really, and it's got the makings of a classic, which means it's almost certainly going to be a really boring 0-0 draw.
Yeah, I'm there as a fan on Saturday, by the way. I'm there as a fan for I haven't been a spectator at Deepdale since Sherpa Van.
Oh, I was just going to mention Sherpa Van because that's what comes into my mind when I think of Deepdale. I have been since I went a couple of years back to cover.
I've worked, but never been as a fan.
Yeah. But that Sherpa Van game was. I remember being taken aback by how many we'd taken because it was just that away end then was a lot smaller, wasn't it?
It was like a little terrace under a little roof, wasn't it, behind the goal?
Yeah. And just arriving at the ground, I think we'd only made a last-minute decision to go like sort of Sherpa Van Trophy or whatever, and then suddenly everyone seemed to be up for it.
Yeah,
and it was packed. We were that one, Justin.
I think so. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's always been a great. It's always been a great atmosphere there. It's always been a great. There's always been a bit of a strange kind of bite about it, hasn't there? It's almost like we sort of forget them, and then they're in our faces, and it's like, there's always a bit of extra, I think.
Yeah, and I suppose it depends where you are as a Clarets fan as well, doesn't it? I mean, one of my mates is like Chris. He's from Chorley. Now, if you're from Chorley, like Burnley, Preston is almost is the derby, isn't it? Like because you're going to school with lads from Preston and seeing them about as much as that. The other thing that reminds me Preston brings to mind while getting nostalgic is they were one of the clubs, and you'll remember this stuff, Daz. They were one of the clubs that produced a match day newspaper rather than a match day programme, didn't they, for a while?
Yeah.
Do you remember them?
That's right.
Derby County did the Ram as well, I think. But
it's a proper club, isn't it? It's a proper historical football club. I do a little soft spot for Preston, but not on Saturday.
Yeah. It was great. It was great when they had the football museum there, wasn't it? Did you ever go to that? Yeah, and they moved it to Manchester, which I thought was always a bit, it was one of the few reasons to go to Preston, apart from when Burnley were playing there.
The Football League's still headquartered there, I think, in Preston.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah. Right. Well, a lot to look forward to. Should be another good one. We will be back to discuss it, go over it, debrief it, whatever you want to say, on our usual Monday morning. Thanks very much for joining us. And until then, up the Clarets.
How many times do I have to tell you? Stop moaning!
Not going anywhere. I've never been